You're listening to KJ and Dondero on Boston Sports Original, WEEI.
Oh, yeah. KJ, Dondero, WEEI. Thank you so much for hanging out with us across New England starting your Sunday morning. I cannot wait. Thursday marked the draft. Full coverage here on WEEI, brought to you by D'Angelo's Sandwiches. And that's like almost a tempting thing to come in because Fitzy will eat up all the food. Greg Hill may even come in for his shift 12 hours early.
Jeez.
You know how people eat food at this station. My gosh. But, steak and cheese. Oh.
You know what I love about the draft? And this is going to sound ridiculous, but and I think it's ESPN, the jingle. The jingle,
the ring, the pick is in.
Made, I love the jingle. It's like a sound for spring. It's the soundtrack of spring. I love that sound. That and the Masters. The jingle.
It's the human jingle. Pavlov's dog bell. The pick is in. The pick is in.
I love that sound.
Oh, many of marriages have been ruined over the draft.
Oh
weekend. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, not mine. Yeah, not mine.
That's a great time for like a vasectomy. Right before the draft.
Where is this going?
No, you just sit down and a surgery. You have to have a little procedure done. You have surgery on Wednesday.
It's like the first 2 days of March Madness. Yeah, you get dental work done the day before.
One of those days. One of those days.
All right, so let's pull back on the hood here a little bit with the draft and what the Patriots may be looking at. Sorry. I love the story that's out that Debo Samuel, A.J. Brown, and Terry McLaurin are all talking about if they do not get extensions on their rookie deals, they will sit out camp. And I don't think so much with A.J. Brown. I think, Nashville has to realize that, like, this is your weapon for the future with your quarterback. So I'm going to take A.J. Brown off the table.
Well, the Titans, it doesn't matter because they've got an elite quarterback, so they're all set. They don't need weapons.
Shut up. But I'll put it this way. If you've got kind of like a kind of a weak cheese and crackers mix, A.J. Brown is the fine wine, right? Like, you don't spend a whole lot of crackers on the crackers and cheese. It's not your top-end brie. We're really talking about something you can get at one of your big box retail stores. But the wine is really good. A.J. Brown is that wine. So they're not going to give up the wine in for the cheese and crackers. The Debo Samuel situation is very interesting, and so is the Terry McLaurin one. But let's get to the Debo one because that's the one everybody's talking about. Mm-hmm. I don't think the Patriots could be in play only because I don't think there's enough to offer up, but that would be ideal. It would be ideal. You would get your wide receiver one. You would get kind of a Swiss Army knife, kind of a upgrade of the Patterson role from a couple of years ago. But now you've got an all-pro that can do these things and give Mac more options in the flats, out of the backfield, right at the line of scrimmage, which Debo does well. I think it would be perfect. I just don't think they're just going to be so gung-ho to do the deal with the Patriots. What do you think?
Why wouldn't they be gung-ho to do a deal with the Patriots?
What do they have to offer that's really going to entice them?
Draft capital? They couldn't offer some draft capital, some draft picks that would make them
you sound excited when you're offering that up. You're talking about a team. You're talking about a team that was a game short of the Super Bowl.
They want a player?
There isn't a player.
You're saying if they trade him, I mean, what player are they going to get? From another team?
I just said there's no player.
So why wouldn't the Patriots? Okay, but I heard that Debo Samuel the Packers were interested. What player are they going to give the 49ers?
They will give them the rest of the world. We'll give you the next 2 first-rounders we've got, and we'll give you like a second-rounder this year.
Why can't the Patriots offer that?
Because they don't have Aaron Rodgers. There's not a win now or division that says you can win it all right now. That doesn't scream that. Like,
I'm not sure. I'm not clear on what you're saying.
You are clear. There's nothing that the Patriots really can offer for Debo Samuel to say, yeah, I'm going to win now. There's no win now with the Patriots right now.
Enough to winning.
No, the Patriots might be the third best team in the AFC East right now. And that's just on paper. Nobody's hiked the ball yet.
So you're saying they shouldn't go after Debo Samuel because they're not in a position to win now.
I'm saying I don't even think the 49ers even pick up the phone.
Why? What do they care what position the Patriots are in?
Because what comes back. Okay.
But you're not making any sense.
We'll get back to Debo Samuel because there's someone who probably makes more sense.
The Packers would offer a treasure chest of draft picks for Debo Samuel. Why can't the Patriots offer that?
Because you're not paying your quarterback $50 million a year to win now. It's still going to be some type of development between Mac and bringing in Debo Samuel. You think Debo Samuel suddenly makes this a 14-3 team?
Wouldn't that make it more enticing for the Niners because the Packers pick will most likely be worse?
In a couple of years, probably not, especially if Aaron Rodgers decides to ride out in the sunset and they have to completely rebuild.
It sounds like next year's first, you're probably getting picked 29 or whatever.
So let's move to Terry McLaurin, who I think...
Wait a minute. No.
I want to contrast.
But it sounds like you don't think that the 49ers would be interested in doing business with the Patriots. Why? I don't understand why.
You're so generalizing, and I'm just saying I don't believe they could get enough oomph back for what they're trying to achieve.
Then why could the Packers offer more draft picks than the Patriots could? That's what I don't understand.
Because the player, because obviously he doesn't want to be there, we're talking about Samuel, wants to go somewhere where he wants to win. They're not going to just say, okay, or someone who's going to give him a bunch of money and extend him for a huge contract. Like
what does that have to do with the
49ers
not wanting to do it?
Well, but here's the thing. Do you think if Debo Samuel gets dealt to the Patriots going to roll out the carpet with a whole lot of money to him?
No, I don't, but I think they should.
Voided deal. So let's move to Terry McLaurin.
That doesn't have anything to do with the 49ers' interest in trading him to the Patriots.
With the Commanders.
I don't want to talk about Terry McLaurin. I don't want Terry McLaurin. That
makes more sense because they're a team that's in transition. They're probably looking, okay, if we could trade with the team that's going to have a potentially pretty decent first-round pick next year, because if the Patriots miss the playoffs, now you're talking about a pick in the teens. And that's something that says, okay, we need to rebuild this team. Carson Wentz may not be the final answer. So if Terry McLaurin is going to be here with something that we don't even see here long term, and we're in rebuild and we're in a bad division, we can turn this and flip this quicker here in this division than, say, the 49ers could, trying to chase the Rams in Arizona. Terry McLaurin would make more sense. Not that Terry McLaurin is the better player, but more likely for that deal. If you said to the Commanders, we'll give you our first rounder next year and we'll give you the 54th pick this year, they jump on that. I don't think the 49ers do. The 49ers probably like, no, you have to come up with more.
Okay.
So
that makes a little bit. Now you've explained it a little bit.
Yes. So you don't have to eat your cereal with a knife sometimes, Mark.
Okay, but
you're stabbing the cornflakes.
Yeah,
here.
That's fine. I hear what you're saying. But I don't know if I would be less comfortable giving Terry McLaurin a big contract if I'm the Patriots and going all in on him. I don't think you
would have to. I think you would have, because you could say to Terry McLaurin, hey, you've had great numbers, but how have you moved the team forward? We've seen that with Debo Samuel.
That's correct.
Right. So you might say, hey, Debo Samuel might come and say, I want a Tyreek Hill type deal. And you'll be like, well, you don't have the money. If you're Terry McLaurin, you might have to take a 2-year look-see and then go from there. All right, 617-779-7937. Text line 37937. Let's go to Mike in Maine. Thank you so much for reaching out to us here on WEEI. Go ahead.
Yeah, and this is a great conversation, but I think we should go for Jufer and 2 receivers that have played with each other. Why not go for DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett? Give them $50 million each for a couple of years and see how that works out. They've worked together. And they can work with Mac. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Mike. There's no way. There's the albatross of Aguilar's number. So, Aguilar's not going anywhere. It's not going to be takers for him.
No, I'm not going to do that just because.
John Smith either.
I mean, I think it's it's a thought you could have, but
right.
I don't like
$50 million each. You wouldn't do that?
No, I think he said $50 million combined. If it was $50
Tyler
million
Lockett's
each,
over 30. No, he said 50 years for each. I mean,
50 for each over a couple of years.
Tyler Lockett's over 30 years old.
Here's the problem.
That's a lot of money.
What did that combination do for Seattle?
You got Russell Wilson out of there.
You're right. So just for that reason, I wouldn't be enticed to do that. Debo Samuel is the class of this conversation, and if I'm going to really make a significant push to do something explosive like this, it's going to be for Samuel. That's what I would do. I wouldn't mess around with Terry McLaurin. He's a nice player. Samuel is, as you said, a game-changing player.
Let me ask you, if Terry McLaurin is on this team, is he wide receiver 1 in that room?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so let's go to Dan in Rhode Island. Thanks for calling KJ and Dondero. You're on the air.
Morning, fellas.
Dan, what's up, man?
Real quick.
Yeah.
How you doing, Marcus? Couple things. Green Bay has Vegas picked. They have 2 number 1s. They have way more to offer than the Patriots could. 1. And 2, Debo, it isn't about money. People think it's all about money. It's partly about money, but he doesn't want to be used as a running back like he basically was used like the last 6 games of last year. He wants to be a pure wide receiver. Now, you can get him the ball in space, like in screens and everything, but I think part of the reason he wants out of there is he's not very happy with the way he's being used because, A, he's injury-prone anyways, and 2, that's certainly going to short his career. You know what I'm saying? And
C, it's Kyle Shanahan, right? Like Kyle Shanahan will find a way to mess things up, right? Dan, thank you so much for the call, man. We appreciate it. Thanks for calling from Rhode Island, man. This is a geospatial show on Sunday mornings. Rhode Island, Connecticut, Maine. Like, we could teach kids like states and capitals just through KJ and Dondero on Sunday mornings.
We wouldn't, but we could. Yeah, theoretically, yes.
Yeah, because they'll be like, Bang or what? So, look, I think you have to look at what is going to be the cost valuation of the player. And let's get to the draft here because I do want to mention how multiple names are coming up of what the Patriots do at 21.
What do you think they're going to do, KJ? What do you think the Patriots are going to do at 21?
I say linebacker. I think if they can address the interior linebacker or a linebacker who could play Mike or Sam or Mike or Will, one of those, you know what I mean? Like if they're flexible, so that way when they go to a 3-4, this person is not lost when they go to that because Bill's got that hybrid thing going on. So I think, addressing the aging, Kyle Van Noy's gone, Dante Hightower's gone, and that's where you have to get younger, especially where the secondary behind you that's where the old guys are. Right, so the last thing you want to do is like, hey, the young guys are getting beat, but what effort. Oh, God, the old guys are now getting attacked. So that youth movement has to start in the middle where, there's going to be a pass rush that's a little more clear, maybe a linebacker that has eyes to also be able to pick a ball. You do have younger quarterbacks, like someone who can kind of spy Josh Allen, who has the speed to do so. These are things that have to be in the game plan. Like there has to be a spy that can kind of run with Josh Allen. So linebacker would be the move for me.
I do. So my position on this is I do not think the Patriots are going to win another Super Bowl on Bill Belichick's watch.
You asked the question, who are they going to draft?
Yeah. So I
don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl by picking a linebacker.
Well, no, thank you for your answer. I'm telling you my position. Since I don't think that they're going to win a Super Bowl under Bill Belichick again, I want them to draft a position that Bill is good at drafting. Therefore, that is a linebacker. That is a defensive lineman. I want them to generate and accumulate as much talent as they can while Bill Belichick is here. And then if they have to try to win later with another coach, good, fine. But at least you have as much talent as possible. I'm worried that if they do go wide receiver, and I'm not convinced that they wouldn't try to go wide receiver in the first round. I don't think they will, but I'm not convinced they wouldn't try or they're not open to that. I just think they're better off drafting a position of strength, a position they've had success drafting, and that's defense. That's linebacker, front 7-ish. So do that, generate as much talent as you can, and then later, like I said, if you have to win with another coach, you do, but at least you have as much talent on the roster as possible because you have to, more than anything else, have a hit. You have to hit. Whatever you pick has to be a hit at this point.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of some of the noise I'm hearing about getting an offensive lineman. I get that, but at the same time, what is the bigger pressing issue? And I always say how you looked in your last game, and if that last game was a loss, which it was for everybody except for one team, how did you look at what was the glaring issue? And clearly it was defense. For my God, in Buffalo, they've got shirts printed up of the drives from that game. Like, that's what they celebrate.
You're never a guard away. So as important as it, look, the Bengals just made the Super Bowl with a pathetic offensive line
and the most sacks on Joe Burrow this season. Sacked the most.
You've proven that you can find offensive line talent later in the draft. I would not do that in the first round. The first round has to be a playmaker. An elite level playmaker, whether it's offense or defense, it has to be a playmaker. Not Devin McCourty. As much as I appreciate Devin McCourty, that is not a playmaker. You need a playmaker, hopefully a linebacker with speed that can do a bunch of different things, but somebody that can make plays and change games and makes me say when I'm watching the game, whoa, look at what that guy did. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah, I'm on the Nakobe Dean train out of Georgia. Sure. You're playing tough games. You win a national championship. Speed is not going to be a problem. You're around A-list players. You've got teammates they're going to be in the league as well. You look at kind of like I look at like a Roquan Smith, who's kind of like set a new standard for that linebacker coming out of Georgia. So I like that energy that from Nakobe Dean's. brings. I'm not so much about the cornerbacks. I think they've got enough of them. Why bringing in another guy? And Bills likes to find these guys in later rounds or undrafted. So the McDuffie guy out of Washington is intriguing, but I don't think as a first rounder, not so much. So, Mark, I do have to make a confession here. When I was joking about states and capitals, I was not trying to imply that Bangor was the correct one. I was playing like how I was wrong about it. But a classmate of mine from high school was kind enough to say, KJ, it's Augusta. So thank you for listening in Millis. Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate that. She did not want me to embarrass our school and our education level. I mean, we went to public school, but it was a very good public school.
Okay.
Well, it was.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking hard about capitals, but I think I do know a lot of the capitals.
This is the way they're going to yell. You idiot. Who's the idiot on the radio saying that Bangor is the capital of Maine? It's not the capital. We just have to get those things out of the way. It's an entertainment show.
Yeah.
But we're both on the same page that a linebacker has to be the pick. Initially, I was wide receiver 1, but if Jameson Williams' name kept coming up, but yet also the asterisk was, but he won't be available right away, then it's almost like, well, what's the point of getting a guy that you need right away who isn't available right away? What's the point? What's the point of drafting a guy that you need right away who isn't available right away? See Ben Simmons.
I think they're going to draft. I think they're actually going to draft and make predictable draft picks. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say. Based on what Bill Belichick is done being cute, I think he is going to draft a player of need that they're targeting, and maybe even somebody, if we're lucky, that we've heard of. Somebody we watch play in college. I think that might happen. But I don't think he's going to make some outside-the-box selection based on some hunch from some scout or some friend he has in the league. I think.
He went this year. You remember last year he didn't go.
I think he's going to make a pick at a position of need. So I think it's going to be either defensive line or linebacker, or it's going to be a wide receiver. He's going to pick at a position of need. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, but I think he could probably get a decent wide receiver if that's the second pick, right? Like the wide receiver can't. I think he's learned that lesson with N'Keal Harry because again, you just don't know what's going on because wide receivers are already kind of alpha males on the field. And so if you're an alpha male in college and you're going to a big name team and you're like, I'm going to play for Belichick and everything like that. And then you get there, you're like, wow, that's a really nice house. And you're like, did you look over the playbook? Yeah, I'll get to that. Man, my mom would love that house. You just don't know. So I think Bill's learned that lesson of, hey, if I'm going to find what I think is going to be the knockout receiver, that might be the guy he finds at 54.
Yeah, well, I still think that needs to be the priority. I still think that the Patriots, they don't change and evolve enough unless they get the number one guy. It all comes back to getting that number one guy because don't forget, last year they had, for large stretches of that season, they had arguably the best pass rusher on the team. They had arguably the best, or on the team, in the league, in Matt Judon. They had arguably the best cornerback in the league, and they had, what was their defense ranked for most of the year? Top 5?
One
exactly.
At one point.
So top 5, if not higher. That's what you had for most of the year last year, and look how it turned out. They are not, unfortunately, and I hate to admit this, but unfortunately, your identity now in the NFL has to be offensive. It can't be defensive. Look at all the teams that were down the stretch in the NFL playoffs to win the Super Bowl. All of them had offensive identities. Rams, Bucks, Bills, Chiefs, Bengals, all of them offensive identities. There was no Ravens or Seahawks from 2013. That doesn't exist anymore. You need an offensive identity. And until the Patriots can find a way to get an offensive identity with weapons and dynamic downfield passing, they're never going to be in that conversation. So you can load up on linebackers, get this defense jacked up all you want, but I don't think that's the league today. You need an offensive identity, then you come back, you circle back and get defense after that.
KJ and Dondero on WEEI, 617-779-7937. Text lines 37937. All right, Mark, let's see if we're on the same page. With the male Pavlov dog bell of the pick is in.
Yep.
At the 21st pick, just tell me the position. The Patriots take a...
outside linebacker.
Yeah, I got linebacker. Linebacker from some college. Okay. With the 54th pick, the New England Patriots take a position of...
wide receiver.
I've got wide receiver, too. Hit that bell. Give it to us, Nick. We got to get the Pavlov. We got to get people ready for Thursday night here on WEEI with Fitzy and crew. And then with the 85th pick, the New England Patriots select, what would you say? I say
position
cornerback.
they absolutely do not need right now. Probably running back. Running back.
They take a cornerback.
Third round running back.
I think a third round cornerback. I think they say that 10 cornerbacks may go by the 80th pick.
There's no way Bill Belichick's not going to annoy us in some way, shape, or
This
form.
is where the San Diego State punter comes off the board.
Punter, right.
Not at the third round.
You punter.
Guys, you guys need to be tested immediately by corporate. I don't know what you guys have been inhaling or ingesting this morning, but that's absolutely
No, that's
crazy.
right. I think it'll be a running back.
No, it's cornerback. It's got to be a corner. It's got to be a young corner. Yeah.
It'll be somebody that can eventually replace James White. I don't know.
Oh, you guys are smoking. All right, it's KJ and Dondero. We've got a parody for you next that might be the best ever. Thank you so much for hanging out. WEEI, good morning.
According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration,